Hello, viewers. This is D. Dot, Opinion of the Nation, and I am Sri Charan. In this edition, we shall be discussing all your questions about COVID. Is COVID airborne? What is black fungus? What are mutation? What is mutation? And what are mutants or variants? And much more. Let me begin with a proverb: He who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything. I am here with an expert who can speak about COVID and answer all your questions about it. Viewers, I welcome Aditya S. Bhushan, who is in his final year of MBBS and knows a lot about it. He's surely an expert and will answer all your questions. Hello, Aditya. Hope you and your family are doing good amidst this COVID pandemic.
Hi, Sharon. Yeah, everyone doing good. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah, now without any delay, let's first move on to the questions. My first question is: what's the reason for the sudden raise in this COVID numbers in the second wave? Because we saw in the first wave that the cases did not rise, did not take its pace, whereas this in this wave the graph is growing exponentially. So, what do you think is the reason?
Yeah, so as we all have been seeing in the newspapers and the television that the cases have been increasing, and I would like to put it based on three causes. Okay, so first thing being lack of the fear among the people. People stopped wearing masks. People stopped following the social distancing.
Yeah.
And also government also has its role where it wasn't as prepared, even though a few doctors and research people had already predicted a second wave back in the month of October. Lack of preparedness by the government as well in terms of beds and drugs and etc. And also the third main cause being the mutation, where we see the mutation of the virus.
Yeah. So you did emphasize on the word mutation. Can you just explain what mutation is in common man's view or common man's perspective? Because the news channels put it out saying mutation, a double mutant, a triple mutant, etc. So can you explain what this mutation is?
Yeah, sure. So I'll tell you mutation based on two things. Okay, one, I'll tell you the biochemistry aspect of you in terms of the technical term, and I'll try to explain it in a common man's point of view.
Yeah.
So basically, what mutation is, the mutation is basically the change in the nucleotide sequence in a DNA, in a genetic material. Okay, so there can be RNA or DNA. So in viruses, every natural being has a tendency to mutate. Okay,
Yeah.
so what happens in virus is every time they enter our body, right, there will be replication of the virus. They start duplicating, during which there will be simultaneous mutation as well, which means there will be change in these base pairs, which results in a different amino acid being formed and a different protein. So this is what mutation is. And if I have to explain to you in a common man's point of view, it basically increases the resistance of the virus. So initially in first wave, we saw kind of infection and we treated in one way. And when the body also started producing a certain immune reaction.
Yeah.
Well, now since the virus is resistant to that immune reaction and it's got itself more advanced, we could say, it's harder to treat, and that's why the infectivity and the virulence of the infection has increased.
Okay. As we are speaking about mutation, so do you think these vaccines work even for mutated virus? We have two vaccines, Covishield and Covaxin. Also, Sputnik V has got its approval in India. So, do you think vaccines will work against these mutated viruses?
Yeah, so right now we have Covishield and Covaxin, and coming to the answer, like it's pretty ambiguous, okay? Or both the see right now the what vaccines we have, they are killed vaccines, so they do not prevent us from getting an infection. They reduce the severity once we're infected. Okay, so that way the study do tells us that yes, it does help in the mutated viruses as well, while a few things go on the negative side as well. So that is pretty ambiguous. But yes, but one thing for sure is it does reduce the severity of the infection if you are vaccinated.
Okay. So, as we are speaking about vaccination, I have another question. People worry a lot about getting vaccinated because they have heard few saying we get side effects from it. We get fever, joint pain, arm pain, headaches, etc. So, do you think these side effects play a major role? And what do you think about these side effects? Should people get vaccinated as soon as possible?
Yes, definitely. People should get vaccinated. There shouldn't be any such kind of a hindrance because these side effects are very minimal. See, every vaccination will have some amount of side effects. I'll tell you as to why. Because mainly what happens is here when you vaccinate a person, which means you're just putting a killed part of the virus into the human body. So virus basically has two properties, okay? One is the infective part and one is called the immunogenicity. So the infective part of the virus will be killed so that it doesn't cause an infection in the body, while the immunogenicity, which is responsible to mount an immune reaction in the body, which means producing your antibodies, is retained. So that time when you put this when this has been put inside your body, there will be a normal immune reaction like any other infection, due to which people do face a fever or any joint pain or any mild symptoms, which is very normal. It is normal with any kind of vaccine. And talking about muscle pain or myalgia, all these things, myalgia as such is it's because of the route of the administration. See, we give these vaccines intramuscularly. So every intramuscular injection will have muscle pain. So there is nothing as such to fear about the vaccine, and people should definitely get vaccinated because there is no harmful effects as such.
So face masks are a symbol of pandemic. So how effective are face masks? And I have another question with that. Should we wear face masks even at home? Because this is what people are asking. People tend to ask. So what do you think about it?
See, right now what the government and the WHO suggests is something called the N95 mask, right? So I'll tell you what an N95 mask is. So what N95 stands for is it basically tries to filter out 95% of a particle size ranging from zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.3 micron. So when you wear this mask, you will be protected from these particles, is what they say. And yes, it definitely has a role in trying to prevent infection, as you'll be covering your nose, and it also prevents from you spreading the infection wearing a mask. And difference between that and a surgical mask is not that efficient as an N95 mask. But yes, it can. I mean, wearing a mask is better than not wearing it.
Yeah.
And also, more importantly, the disposal of mask is also very important. So so every N95 mask has its time of around 8 hours a day, and after that you need to dispose it in the right way. And talking about wearing masks at home, I don't think that's required, because if there is no infected person at home, as long as you are not going out or if there's nothing as such, there's no need to wear masks at home.
Okay. So the next question: what's your advice to the people who are under home isolation? What do you think you advise them?
Okay, so we being the fourth year medical students, we are assigned by the government to do something called as a teletriaging, where we call patients who are home isolated and we monitor their health. So what we basically do there is we basically check for their symptoms. If they are symptomatic, there are a few indications as to when a person has to be hospitalized and when a person can stay under home isolation. So any fever not resolving for more than 6-7 days, even after treatment, is an indication to be hospitalized. Or it can also be your breathlessness if a person has a difficulty in breathing. So right now, two main important things what a person need to have under home isolation is a thermometer and a pulse oximeter. So thermometer to measure your temperature and a pulse oximeter to measure your saturation. So a person when he's home isolated, an infected person when he's home isolated in his room, so what we advise is he has to walk in the same room where he's been isolated with the pulse oximeter on his finger for 6 minutes and then measure the saturation. And that saturation has to be maintained above 94. And if that value goes below 94, or if there is any desaturation before and after the test, then that is an indication for the person to be hospitalized immediately.
My next question: is COVID-19 airborne? Because experts and researchers call it so through the studies. So, what do you think? What's your take on it?
So for that, let's understand what an airborne infection is basically. So what an airborne infection is so any infection, any virus or any bacteria that in the size range of around 1 to 10 micron which can stay in the air. Like if I am infected and every time I sneeze or cough, there will be some amount of shedding of the virus along with the secretions, right?
Yeah.
So these virus particles, when they are in the air and they can go and infect another person, so that's when we call it an airborne infection. And yes, COVID has been proved to be an airborne infection.
A big question again, which people have asked me several times. The difference between pneumonia and COVID 19. What do you think is the difference between pneumonia and COVID 19?
See, that's a lot of difference. Okay, COVID-19 is an infection, while pneumonia is a disease. So when you contract a viral infection, is what we are calling it. While pneumonia is somewhat of an end-stage disease or a disease which results as a complication of COVID-19. So if I have to explain what pneumonia is, so basically there's something called as alveoli in our lungs. Okay, so this is the region where there will be exchange of gases happening, where we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide, right?
Yeah.
So that exchange of gases happen in this alveoli. So
Yeah.
this coronavirus, the COVID infection, these virus particles go and lodge themselves into the alveoli. So that time what happens is there will be an immune reaction mounted, which will lead to the release of a few neutrophils and other inflammatory mediators. So that time there will be an exudate formed or what anything, it can be a pus or any exudate, which will stop or which will hamper this exchange of gases. So when there is exchange of gases being stopped, the patient presents with hypoxia, what we call as breathlessness. And that on a CT scan is what appears as a ground glass appearance, where we can see these patches. While this COVID infection, see, people are dying because of COVID is not because of its infection, because of the inflammatory phase.
Yeah.
So because of this inflammatory phase is why people are progressing into pneumonia, where the virus attacks, it can attack any organ, be it lungs or liver or anything. What presence in lung is what we call it as pneumonia.
So, do you think this pneumonia, people catch up with pneumonia during severe cases of COVID 19, or how is it?
See, it's not mandatory for every person who contracts an infection to go into the end stage. That is what is very peculiar about this infection, and that's why it's harder to treat. There are people under home isolation taking the adequate prophylactic drugs, yet going into a complicated phase. While there are some people who get cured within the home isolation. So that's where steroids play a role, where you give anti-inflammatories and you try to prevent the inflammatory phase even at an earlier stage, where it has proved benefit.
Okay. So, wrapping up with my last question, what is this black fungus? Because the cases are rising day by day. Also, I'll just give out the numbers so that our viewers know what this black fungus numbers are. The black fungus has claimed 52 lives in Maharashtra, and it is spreading like a wildfire across every state. So, what do you think this black fungus is?
So basically, black fungus is a fungal infection, what we call it as mucormycosis. It's basically caused by a fungus called mucor. Okay, so and this is not a new infection, this is nothing new. So it's always seen in an immunocompromised patients like HIV, and it's pretty common in those patients. The reason it's being seen in the COVID is because of the abuse of steroids. Okay, so right now we know steroids is one of the mainstay treatment of COVID, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is steroids are anti-inflammatory. So what they do is they try to suppress the immunity of the individual, during which it's easier for a fungus to enter the body and lodge an infection. And that is what is happening in COVID. So when people start abusing steroids, that's when this fungal infection occurs, which we call it as black fungus.
Okay. Thank you, Aditya, for joining this session, for giving your precious time to this edition. Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Charan.
Thank you, viewers, for joining us in this edition. I'll be back in the next edition. Until then, signing off, Sri Charan. Thank you, viewers.